This is Shipt Shopper Ashley here. In Detroit, we've had the new Shipt pay scale for a solid week. And as of this past Wednesday, all remaining cities are on this pay scale as well. Shipt is a 6-year-old grocery delivery company that started in Alabama. Now in its 4th year here in Detroit, we are one of the largest area it services in terms of miles and shoppers. Obviously, a very important topic to me, like how you make your livelihood is very important. This is a job that I care about so much. I love doing it so much. Shoppers were paid a minimum of $5 plus 7.5% of the total receipt amount. While this pay was not perfect, it made logical sense. Smaller orders that made the company less money paid out shoppers less, while larger orders that made the company more money paid out more. And although tips are not required, Shipt has been very diligent about pop-ups in the app to remind customers to tip and rate their shoppers. This pay has been my only income for the past 2 years, where I've averaged $500 a week last year, and I worked harder to bump it up to $600 a week before the pandemic even hit. We all know the pandemic changed everything. I've been blessed and able to work less and still make a lot of money. But Shipt has to realize, during a time of national long-term social anxiety, any big change was not going to go over well. But going into the announcement, I was absolutely terrified. This is my only income, as I mentioned, and the only other person in my house has been on unemployment since gyms closed down in March, and they didn't want to go back to that stressful environment, so they became a Shipt shopper about 1 month before this announcement. So I've been worried for them as well. Like, are we going to be able to make an income off of this? We'll do our best because we have to. That's what so many people have been facing in this pandemic, is that you have to do the best you can because the country has failed you. And that's, just adding to this. That's all the anxiety balled up in one. So I wanted to read Shipt's exact words on this updated pay scale to give you an idea what's going on. Since we launched in 2014, we have learned a great deal about compensation and how external factors may influence the shopping experience. We are updating our pay model to better account for the actual effort it takes to complete and deliver orders. Similarly priced orders may also pay differently due to the amount of effort needed to complete and deliver, especially if there's a large difference in the number of items. So they're saying $100 orders of 1 item is going to pay less than $100 orders of 30 items. This updated pay model takes into account the many factors such as estimated drive time from the store to door, the number of items in the order, peak shopping windows, and location that can affect the effort needed to shop and deliver an order. Orders that seem similar at first may actually be very different experiences. Here are a couple examples. So right under our old pay, 2 orders that were a total of $100 would pay out the same, about $12. So here they're saying for a single item they're going to pay less than if it's 30 items, they're going to pay more. An order within a 15-minute drive in a busy metro area during rush hour is likely to pay more than a similar-sized order with a 2-minute delivery drive during a quieter shopping time. Since the first order likely requires more effort to complete, pay for that order will reflect that. You're spending more time in the car, so we want to compensate you accordingly. This means that some orders may pay out differently, as payments will now better reflect the effort required to complete the shop. Paying based on effort means orders are not calculated on the retail total cost of the order. It's worth noting that in this updated model, you'll always be guaranteed at least the minimum for the estimated pay range for each order you accept and successfully deliver, even if you end up fulfilling fewer items because there are a lot of out-of-stocks in the order that won't have an impact on your pay. So then they give examples like, if there's no rotisserie chickens, you won't get marked down. Okay, rotisserie chicken's $5. That would have made us a whole $1. Or like alcohol or deli items, if they can't be purchased at that time of day. Okay. We have been able to gather a lot of data and learned a lot since Shipt shoppers first began serving customers nearly 6 years ago. So then they say that data helps inform the estimated shopping times. In addition, we use advanced mapping technology providers to give real-time estimated drive times. Is there a formula? See, we used to have a formula, so now they say there isn't a formula that can be shared because each metro has unique characteristics that can affect the shopping experience. Shipt aims to provide market competition compensation in each metro, which means similar orders in size and estimated drive times may pay out different in various areas of the country. This does affect delivery-only orders, which used to just be a flat rate of $8. Now it's kind of going to give a range depending on how far it is to drive. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so they say, what has Shipt learned from its initial tests? Which, Kalamazoo, I heard a lot of complaints out of Kalamazoo that the initial tests were horrible, and it wasn't a test, is not going away. So they say, we saw a number of active shoppers increase in all metros where the new pay model was active, indicating that offers continue to be attractive to shoppers. We also observed an increase in on-time deliveries, a benefit to both. Yeah, increase in shoppers is because we're in a pandemic and people are losing jobs. Yeah, increase in shoppers could be, hey, we're not making as much per order and need to take more than one at a time. So, I hear from these shoppers all over the country on the Shipt's national Facebook page, including California, which started out with this version of pay from the very beginning. I thought it might have to do with how their minimum wage laws are set up to be $12 an hour versus, we are not protected by minimum wage laws in most states. Granted, people on the internet are more likely to complain about things rather than brag and say, oh, this is wonderful. But a protest was organized for July 15th, and this made me think, hey, this is probably not just people complaining. This must be a real problem if they want to do something about it. If a lot of people want to do something about it. So the CEO and the COO made a video together addressing this pay scale and a lot of nasty questions and comments and stuff that's been going around the internet. And I'm very glad they did. I was just like, worst case scenario, if they know they're screwing us over, it's going to come across in their voice. It just wouldn't be something to hide if you knew you were doing something terrible. And they talked about in their video how they do shop orders also. So why would they waste their time as the CEO of a company, to make peanuts? So I definitely listened to that, helped me gain some support for this. Some of the things that they addressed in their Shipt video, I'll read what they wrote down here. Shipt is not being transparent with the updated formula or algorithm. That has been a common statement. And they're like, shopping in Birmingham is different than Los Angeles, is different from Indiana, from New York, blah, 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 blah. There's no single formula, as our pay model takes several location and situation-specific factors into account. Myth: shoppers earn less on the updated pay model. Fact: the updated pay model takes into the account all the things that they just said. This means shoppers may pay out differently. Differently does not say more or yet less Shipt. We even had to address an issue where people's tips weren't going to the shoppers. So if we don't see your tip show up on our app, then we're not getting paid for it. And Shipt said they're going to audit the tips every quarter. So that's nice. So one of the issues we have seen is that if someone placed an order for 10 items, they meet the free delivery requirement of $30. And then they add like 20 more items. That order pay will not get updated if it sits in Metro the whole time. We've only seen it update if someone clicks on it and then releases it, and then the pay is updated. We don't know what's going on with that. But Shipt keeps reassuring us that we adjust pay if a member adds items to the order after submitting it to Shipt. Because pay is based on effort rather than the value of the order, the increase in pay will correlate with the increased effort required to shop and deliver those additional items. That means you'll likely see a higher increase in pay if the member adds 20 items compared to 2, regardless of the cost of the added items. You'll see the increased pay reflected in your delivery history, blah, blah, blah. 101 total items, it says, pays out $5 to $7. Yeah, it's definitely updating for those added additional items. Someone said they did pick it up and put it back, and then it paid out $28 to $38, and that is much more reasonable. And then, yeah, this other concern. Shipt is changing its pay model during a pandemic to make more money off shoppers. Shipt says, our commitment to shoppers is stronger than ever, and any operational changes we make balance the interests of shoppers with the long-term needs of the business. We've invested and continue to invest tens of millions of dollars in the shopper community in recent months, ensuring shoppers receive personal protective equipment, financial assistance, and bonus pay during uncertain times. So, Yeah, protective equipment. I'm not even sure what to say because the whole country was behind on that. And that's just been another terrifying fact of life is we didn't have masks mandated until possibly the end of April. Like, we did not know what was going on. And so that's terrifying. Financial assistance. So it was reassuring at the beginning of the pandemic to hear from Shipt that they're going to give you 2 weeks of pay. This is based on your average from the past month, past 2 months. And that's okay. That's okay. Great. That's like the amount of time it might be if you test positive and you're symptom free to get over it. But people who have been actually sick are not better in 2 weeks. There are still people who are sick. There are people who have died, and Shipt's not gonna do anything other than like, oh hey, 2 weeks, and their bonus pay has been all over the place. They've capped bonuses some days at $10, at $15, but with this new pay model, the bonuses seem one of the less guessing factors. So we can actually see the amount of what is called promo pay when an order is less than an hour from its delivery window. We can't actually see it, but it's been easy to calculate that at the top of the hour, it starts at $1. At 15 minutes, it's $5. At 30 minutes, it's $10. And 45 minutes, it's $15. And then when it switches over, it gets bumped to the next hour, then it's got $20 promo pay on it. And it just caps at that. In Detroit, it was very rare for orders to roll over to the next hour. I think it still happens quite a bit with this new pay model. Shipt says, our goal is to maximize shoppers' earning potential and ensure they get the best value or compensation for their effort. The updated pay model better accounts for the effort it takes to shop and deliver orders. Simply put, we want pay to reflect the effort shoppers are putting into each order. And so that remains to be seen, right? When that day rolled around, Wednesday, September 16th, my boyfriend and I both took it off with plans to shop, and we did the Thursday, and to kind of reserve our judgment. Right? We've been hearing all these terrible things. We're terrified. My first impression was that pay across all orders in the metros went up. I was like, hey, maybe this is a pay raise. Maybe they just phrased it absolutely horribly. People are making $10 to $12 from 1 to 10 items. That's great. And honestly, I made good money that Thursday, doing a lot smaller orders than I normally would. Normally, I go for the largest, highest paying orders, and it's always been a good Shipt strategy to go for the highest paying, smallest amount of orders. So that's what I've done. I'm like, hey, Shipt made it very clear that they're not going based on order amount. So, pick the highest pay, screenshot it if that makes you feel comfortable, because once we claim an order, we cannot see the pay anymore. It used to be easy to see, oh, this order's gonna cost this much, that's how much we'll get paid. And so that's a lot of the transparency in a job where we know it's variable pay. We've been doing this a long time. That's usually not a problem, but you need to know all your variables. And when you change those and take those away, it's a huge loss of trust to do that. It baffles me still. I was very optimistic that I could make good money on this new pay scale and that I wouldn't have to work very hard. But then Monday comes around and people are still placing large orders of 40 plus items, totals of $150 or more. And we see the pay like $13 to $15 if you're lucky. And Shipt would always tell us to estimate 2 minutes per item. So you have time for substitutions, for checkout, and for driving. And even if you're a fast shopper, 30 items will usually take an hour. So, 40 to 60, that's going on to an hour and a half, 2 hours, usually just depending on what the items is, how much is in stock. And you got to realize also, still in a pandemic, stores are not well stocked. People are still going to the grocery store less often and buying more, especially as people are staying home more. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. It feels like Shipt is playing head games. Sometimes I'll see orders with promo, 30 minutes before the delivery window. Sometimes I won't see any, so I'll have to wait 20 minutes past the next delivery window. So say it's 7:20 for an 8 o'clock order to finally pop up, and they'll all have to be promo. I've talked about this before in my tips for new shoppers about how Shipt is holding orders for 1 hour to try to bundle them. Well, I thought this would be very inconvenient for customers It's becoming more inconvenient for Shipt shoppers as I've learned, hey, it's better to take, multiple smaller orders that are going to pay out at least $10 each than a large order that might take you an hour and a half that won't even pay $15. You can see how the strategy's changed. So I'll show you some examples of orders people have been complaining about. One person said 73 items for a $20 pay is horrible, but they were like, yeah, shopped it in 45 minutes, gotta brag about how fast I am. And other people are like, yeah, my pay for my $100 items isn't enough. Good thing the tips were good. But if you're bragging about how you can shop these big orders faster, why would Shipt pay you more? So this is still in the optimistic praise when I was like, hey, maybe this is more kind of an hourly thing. The commission pay was really so you have a minimum of $5, and then $70 orders pay out 10, $100 orders pay out 12, but then $200 orders pay out 18. There's a kind of a curve like that, versus this pay scale seems to be kind of more we're just trying to figure out what the heck is going on, what can get us the most pay. Obviously, that's our job. I've done orders on the old pay scale for 1.5, 2 hours that paid out 20 to 30 with no tip. And that's been okay, right? 10 to 15 an hour, the next person tips and makes up for it. So we had somebody else talking about a 100-item order that took them 3 hours and paid $22. They may or may not tip. We don't know at this point. And right, it was a $600 order, so that would have paid $60 on the old pay scale. So you can see how people are able to compare to the old pay scale and be pissed. Oh yeah, this one's great here. Ypsilanti's been the poster child of Detroit's complaints about this new pay scale. I'll definitely show the article of a ridiculous order of 1,400 items. It was 12 unique items, the pay was $15 to $20, and this order would have been impossible to complete, getting, 100 to 200 of different types of laundry detergents and other things in the store. People have been putting in ridiculous orders like this all pandemic. I don't know, man. This other one's gold, though. Okay, I have another complaint about the bundles. With the new pay scale, Shipt is trying to get you to deliver one of these orders in a bundle for free, essentially. You look at the increased pay for small orders, and we're like, yeah, doubles can make us some good money. But then you look at these bundles, and you're like, why are they paying out so much less than the old pay scale? So, right, on the old pay scale, if you had 2 small orders, right, they could be 10 items and pay out $30 to $50. That would make you about $7 to $8. But now, if they're saying these small orders are paying out 9 to 10 or more, if they're far away from the store, and you see a bundle, this bundle was from a Target, it had 1 item and 10 items, bundled for $10 to $14. And I'm just like, that seems suspicious. What are you going to pay if those were separate? And I waited for them to go promo, and so this was at $5.05. This is when we know there's a $1 promo attached. They were going to pay $7 to $9 for the 1 item, and $9 to $12 for the 10 item. So essentially, trying to lump those together for $10 to $13, that's getting you to deliver that 1 item order for free, which is ridiculous. So another problem I have when comparing these orders on Facebook is that we see the total amount of items from the order offer screen, but you have to click on to the grocery list to see how many unique items. Before we could see the grocery item list, they would just show on Shipt the unique number of items, and I think that's the best way to kind of judge how long a shop is going to take. How many unique items, and then you can kind of peruse the list. Okay, are any on the opposite side of the store? How difficult are these items going to be to find? So seeing one that says 50 total items for 12 to 16, that does seem fairly reasonable because it was actually 36 items. But why would there only be a $5 increase of pay from 36 items to 68 items with 17 to 23? So one of the things that some other Shipt shoppers kind of figured out and shared online was that they've noticed the Shipt's estimated time is really what factors into the pay. So yes, farther away orders do pay more, but Shipt's estimated time is something we have long ignored and known was not correct for orders for a long time. And now that's what our pay is based on. That is why we are so upset. That's why we know it's unfair. People have estimated it's about 25 cents per estimated minute. So that would actually not be terrible pay if the estimated time is right? So 60 minutes would be 15 an hour. Okay, that's great. But when you estimate that orders over 40 items, over 60 items, 100 items is going to take you an hour, or like if you're even short, like an hour, that's a lot of pay to us because time is money. And there's a conflicting ideology that like, hey, we need tips to make money, like servers, or hey, we shouldn't expect tips because it's optional. That's just another societal issue. Like, our company should be paying us. Nobody should be dependent on tips. Not servers, not delivery drivers. No, the company should pay their workers. You don't tip your clothing store cashier. You don't tip your grocery store cashier. Tip pay is in general unfair, but you can see I've dealt with it. So how do I even want to end this? You know, I've lost a lot of my regulars. I haven't been able to find their orders in the pandemic. And I've noticed, you know, my favorite Karen and my favorite Sarah, they have switched from being Shipt members to being prepaid, which members usually pay an annual fee of $99. Sometimes there's discounts. Shipt did add some Shipt passes that are essentially delivery fees, but they have switched over to being completely Meijer.com customers. You can order from Target.com as well. These come up as prepaid on our end. And, you know, a lot of people said when Shipt did this crazy amount of hiring, didn't require training, that it was going to push away a lot of our members. And I don't know how many it did. And I don't know how many people this new pay scale is going to push away. Like, I care so much about this. That's why it's important for me to speak out and let people know, because we can't change anything if we don't talk about it. It's so important that workers talk about pay, that we stick together, because companies work for us. They work for their customers, which are people just like us. They need to work for their employees, and if they can't make a profit doing those two simple things, they need to not be in business. This goes for everything. I, have a degree in business. I understand. I do run my own business right now. Independent contractor is a self-employed business. And thanks for listening. Please subscribe if you like what I've been putting out, and let me know how you're doing. I feel, I'm terrified out there. I'm terrified to be around my friends. My family has all worked through this pandemic in different regions. My mom's a respiratory therapist. My dad is surprised that he was one of the only few people still going to work at the GM plant. My sisters do Instacart and are both at university, and it terrifies me. It really does. Somehow we were able to get through the Black Plague, the Spanish flu pandemic. Somehow enough of us will survive this, and right, that's a terrible thing to say. You can tell from my other videos that I am a very positive, upbeat person, but this has been so hard. It just seems so important for me to share and help people feel like they're not alone.